today's talk was inspired by the Mandala Man, who sent me a video in which it was pointed out that during the pandemic, the essential workers, which both he and I were during the pandemic, my life changed very little. I kept my job and kept doing my job, as did he, and pointed out that these essential workers, without whose help, society would collapse. You have to have a minimum staff on hand to keep things running, thus the term essential. It was pointed out that these workers are the lowest paid workers in our society. And I responded to him saying that, the slaves have always been on the bottom of the pyramid. I did send him a video of a woman questioning, not quite questioning, but pointing out that perhaps, it's because of what we've been eating, all the crap we put into our body, that a lot of people have not yet woken up to, their predicament. It seems like, okay, well, in the majority of the world, slavery is no longer legal. They just metamorphosize the slaves from being, actually owned by, individual people to being, quote unquote corporate slaves. You're not actually owned by the corporation. You can quit anytime you want, but for most people, try quitting your job and see how that works out for you. Their landlord or your mortgage company, your creditors are not going to understand that, hey, I just decided to quit my job, man, and I don't feel like I think I should pay. Not everyone has the ability or the drive or whatever it takes to be an entrepreneur. A lot of us do have to work corporate slave jobs. So I looked into that because I said, the slaves are at the bottom of the pyramid. To have a pyramid, it means you need to have, a top ruling class, and, below that, various degrees of importance. Ancient times, you had the emperor, the king, the pharaoh, whatever, and then below them were the priestly class and the artisan class and the civilian class, and then you got into the slaves and such. And there was a lot of them. They were definitely considered essential to keep things moving. Unfortunately, up into the mid 19th century, I mean, here in the U.S., we had slaves, and they never really got haven't still really got the recognition they deserved for keeping the southern part of the country running. It was literally built on their backs. But that's for another talk. So I did look into some history of empire, because I feel like there's a great quote by Philip K. Dick, which says that, the empire never ended. And what he meant by that is the first empire, according to historians, was the, Sumerian Empire, circa 4,000 BCE or before. They were the first, believed to be the first civilization. I've pointed this out in some other videos where they weren't the first civilization. They were the first civilization like ours, when this, pyramid structure with a small ruling class and a larger central class down below. The myth of Etana from the Sumerian cuneiform tablets has Etana, who is the first king of Kish. Kish was the capital of Sumeria after the Great Flood, when kingship was lowered once again from the heavens. He was the first king, the first man after the flood with that divine right to rule. And Etana, in the myth, he rides an eagle to the heavens to ask Anu, the father god, where the plant of birth could be found, because I guess he was having trouble conceiving. But he wanted a son as an heir. So he rode an eagle to the heaven to speak with God find out where that is. So right away from the first king, Sumerian king, right away the symbol of the eagle is associated with kingship, with divine rule. Started off, like I say, in ancient Sumeria, which morphed into Babylon. And as Mr. Philip K. Dick says, the empire never ended. It just metamorphosized into something new, something, from once one empire fell, because empires tend to fall, it didn't end. They just simply moved the seat of kingship, the seat of divine rule, to another location. It went from ancient Babylon to Greece, from Greece to ancient Rome, from Rome for a brief time to Istanbul, which was used to be called Constantinople, and from there to London, and from London to the U.S. Side note: I think right now they're probably kind of moving into Beijing or somewhere in Asia. I'll explain why in a minute. Like I say, this eagle associated first with the first Sumerian king, Etana. The eagle since then has been the symbol of empire. If you look into any empire that we know, from Babylon to Greece, we had Alexander the great conqueror, to Rome, to London, to the U.S., every empire has a symbol of an eagle. It's on the U.S. coinage. It's on the money. If you look back to ancient Roman art and symbolism, they had the eagle as the symbol. They would carry it with them on their shields and on their crusades out conquering and making empire. Ancient Greece had the same thing all the way back to ancient Sumeria. The first divine, where the divine right to rule according to the cuneiform tablets was lowered. So we have this system where, like I said, I saw a video. It just came up. Things are like that. It's synchronicity. Someone coming up and just asking, well, why aren't people waking up to that this is going on? We're just kind of ruled by these small group of people, and why can't we ever do something about that? And so I pointed out to the Mandala man that the slave class, the corporate slaves now, have always been at the bottom. Okay, and it's because of that, because of this pyramid, and because of this might makes right symbol that. They tell you, the Roman Empire that fell, 2,000 years ago, and there's no more empire, and it fell. Of course, Rome burned, and they had all kinds of troubles back then. But these divine right to rule folks whose ancestors are still running the place, they just moved it somewhere else, and along with the empire metamorphosizing, the way people were ruled changed too. In ancient Rome, you had slaves. You had a slave class. I mean, they captured prisoners of war, and if they didn't kill you or feed you to the lions or something as entertainment, you became a slave. I mean, Greece had the same thing. And then when we get into London, the British Empire, another eagle symbol, going on with conquered the U.S., came over to here, conquered the Americas. And if you look at the Mexican flag, the current Mexican flag, look it up. On the Mexican flag, there is a picture of an eagle eating a serpent. The symbolism for Zeus was seen as an eagle. In the Bible, the serpent was cast out of the garden by the Hebrew God Yahweh, who, while there's no proof that his symbol was ever an eagle. He's more like a lion, but he's very similar to Zeus. He's a angry old man in the sky. That's the chief god who, throws lightning bolts and destroys cities at will. He's very similar to Zeus in the way he is portrayed. So we have this empire that morphed into it. In the Middle Ages, we had serfdom, where the land baron just owned the land, and no longer had slaves. You were, a serf. Wasn't much you could do. If you wanted to farm or to raise animals, you gave part of your earnings, your booty to and the soldiers that came by to collect it for the emperor. And it's still the same thing. We live in the U.S. or in a civilized world. We pay taxes. They don't really ask us if we want to pay taxes or what we want to do with our taxes. They simply take them out of your paycheck. And not everyone can be a successful entrepreneur. Most people still do work a corporate job and quit it and see how that works for you. They're a landlord or your land baron or your mortgage company doesn't want to know, doesn't want to hear you can't pay your bills. So that's kind of the story of that, of how empire morphed over time, and with it the way they ruled people. Took the essential workers, and went from outright calling them slaves to calling them serfs to just corporate workers like we have now working for the system. Just real quick, why I said is probably the empire is probably moving to Beijing is the Americas, like I pointed out, they had a lot of serpent mythology. You had in Central America the Aztecs and the Mayans, but both had just different names for their god, the plumed serpent. Asia, China in particular, still has many serpent or dragon myths and artwork. And the way I said the empire is probably moving over there is because India and China, sort of the Asian continent, is really the last place with this serpent mythology that has not been taken over officially by the Empire of the Eagle. I mean, you might point out Africa or something, but I mean, I don't know. There's a talk for another video. I mean, Africa is it's sorry over there. I mean, what they're doing to the children as far as like diamond mining and lithium mining, it's just very sad. I don't have African slaves any longer, thank God. But it seems like the people over there are sort of slaving out their children to corporate interests. Well, okay, this is getting a little long. Hey, hit it up in the comments what you think of this. If you have any opinions, I'd love to hear them. And as usual, make sure you like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.